Hello everyone and welcome to the Anime Zillia, and thank you for joining me as we talk about Yugioh SEVENS Episode 2. Now then, this episode was pretty good from both a dueling aspect and from a character aspect as well. I like the fact that they build up some characters and give us a bit more personality and more kind of showcasing from them. So from that respect, I can really appreciate that. But first off, let's get the duel out of the way. It was a good showcasing of Rook's dueling skills. We've known that he's a good duelist, we see that he's a good duelist, and I love the realistic aspect from this duel. As in, not getting the card or the lucky draw that you need, thus leading to your defeat. I've been in situations like that constantly when playing Yu-Gi-Oh! On like the Switch or mobile games. Whatever it is, I can relate to that and I really do like it. Now, I know this is very early in the show, but if you compare the two ace monsters that we currently have, that being the Rush Dragon card that Rook uses and Rhodes Magician that Yuga uses, I can safely say that I prefer Rook's ace monster just based on its design and skill. Simply because I find Rhodes Magician to look a bit creepy, if I'm honest with you, but that's just my take. You might have a different one. Moving on then. So, honestly, I don't mind Rook winning this duel. I actually thought this would happen once the duel was set to happen, and as a side note, I didn't watch last week's preview, so seeing this duel come about, it was pretty cool. But the reason as to why I don't mind this duel, leading to Rook's victory or being in his favour, is because this episode is a very Rook-based episode. Plus, he's already been established to be this really strong duelist, and it's not like Yuga lost. He achieved his goal for the duel, which that was live broadcasting it, making people know about Rush duels and getting people hyped and excited for him. So in that respect, Yuga lost the duel, or lost the battle, but he won the war. And Rook won the battle, but lost the war in total because his whole goal was trying to stop people from learning about Rush duels and keeping it a secret. Which I don't really get, but I'll talk about that in just a second. So, that's the dueling out of the way. Now let's talk about the characters. So, since it's a Rook-based episode, we'll start with him. And, honestly, dueling-wise, we see he's a good duelist, and his deck revolves around dragons, so we know that any character in Yu-Gi-Oh! That uses dragons is going to be difficult to beat. You got Kaiba, you got Kite, you've got... I don't know, I guess Chaz was difficult in some respects. You got Revolver. The list goes on and on. We don't need to list everybody. But I found his goal of wanting to keep Rush dueling a secret a bit too suspicious. Especially if you add in the fact that his plan at the start of the episode was to get Yuga into the Go Hop Corporation and try and promote Rush dueling through that channel, then eventually becoming a big shot or a manager in a certain position in that company. Now, I know that this could add to the fuel of the idea that Rook is a spy or a sleeper agent. I've seen people saying that and spreading that around or speculating that this early on, and I can see why people would think that, but I mean, you can always look at it from a perspective that, he just wants it to succeed and he wants it to basically go forth without Go Hop Corporation deleting it. Because he does raise up that point. He says, what about if it gets too big and Go Hop is like, delete and still. Done. No more Rush duels. Easy peasy. And, so maybe he was just concerned and worried about it from that aspect. So, I could see both sides of that equation. But what I found more interesting about his character, not the suspiciousness, because that will just be revealed in time, but I thought that the device that he wore was very kind of intriguing. Now, he puts his item away, but he obviously has to have it on his wrist whenever he does his Dugan. His kind of destroying of electronic devices. And if he needs something like this, I would have thought that destroying devices that are electrical, that are Go Hop property, like the drones, like, I don't know, street light or camera or vending machine or something like that, would be considered a crime in that city. So how would he obtain an item like this Well, he'll have to have obtained it from somebody with a bit of power and a bit of influence. And we know that he's from a wealthy family, so maybe there's ties with him being a part of the Gohop Corporation through his family, and that's why he was able to get this device, and he's not penalized for using it all the time. And yes, I know there's the claim that he found it a year ago, but I mean, that could just be a lie, like a cover-up. So you have to kind of see if there's any connection in that respect, and see if that, might add to the idea that he is working for Gohop Corporation, because he brings it up so many times in this episode. And yes, he doesn't bring it up in the sense that they're a bad thing. He brings it up in the sense that they're a helpful solution. So that's something that you could take as a grain of salt and kind of go, that could raise a bit of suspicion. But we'll have to wait and see where that leads. So next up, Yuga. And this character just shows the fact that he is really passionate when it comes to rush dueling. And this should be obvious, but it's still nice to have this reaffirmed. I like that he's not just, following the crowd. He's doing his own thing. I like the fact that he's just not caring at some stages. Like, he's just tinkering with the drone, while Rook is basically explaining what a duel king is, which I thought that explanation was weird. Just someone that teaches what that is, what duels are, which is technically what Yuga is doing in this episode. He's live broadcasting this duel, showing people how fun rush duels can be. And I love that because it shows he is a true inventor. He can see an opportunity out of a situation just like any true inventor would. And it shows that he is smart, he's cunning, and he's resourceful. And that's a quality in his character that I really do appreciate and I do like to see. Yes, he is a young character. Maybe he's a bit too smart for his age, but I can give that a pass because it makes his character more interesting and more appealing. I like the fact he did tamper with the drone to do the live broadcasting. I thought that I was unique. I thought that I was true to his character of being an inventor, being a hacker. It's pretty cool. But all around, I just think this episode was a good showcasing of Yuga's passion and Yuga's drive and how far he's willing to go in order to see his invention become a success. So, again, he lost the duel, but he won the war and eventually showed off his character in a positive light. So, moving on then, last but not least, we've got Romin and Gakuto. Or Gakuto, even. These two characters wasn't really the main focus of this episode, but they did do a good job of explaining things and making this episode feel more like a tutorial episode, especially for the audience. So they explain what attack points and what defending is, and what rush dueling actually is, and that. So that was okay. It wasn't the best thing ever, but one thing I really did like from Romin's character was her sassy personality. I love that about her personality and her character in this episode. And honestly, it shows a bit more of a mature side to her character, which I really did like. And she did suggest the idea of, doing the duel to start with. So that's why it shows a more mature personality. She's just well, if you're arguing about dueling, why don't you just settle it with a duel? It sounds obvious, but she was the one who presented it. Now, I've also heard that maybe she's a spy. Maybe she's an agent or something, or she's tied to Gohop. And honestly, I don't think she has the drive or the correct personality style to be a spy. She could just be acting, but I think it's more so that she just wants to be a reporter, or she likes documenting things that interest her. And these are kind of things that kids would do when they're younger. When kids are younger, if they buy a new fancy camera or they have a good phone with a camera, they just want to take lots of pictures and snaps and cool. And it's alright. You can be like that and not be suspicious. And honestly, I don't find Romin suspicious at the moment. I hear that in episode 3, we are going to see more into her character and we're going to learn more about it. Rook's going to question her about some of the stuff that she does. So hopefully they'll reveal and elaborate more on that in the future. But yeah, I just don't find her character to be the correct build for a spy. but if she is, then she's acting brilliantly, and I gotta give her a clap for that. So, her sassy personality, her kind of maturity, made her a great character in this episode. Gaito, he was alright. The comedy from those two characters wasn't too bad. It wasn't a main focus, and it wasn't too heavy in terms of comedy, so I really did appreciate that aspect. We had a good episode overall. But we end off with Mr. Gohop himself, and this was creepy. We had a creepy girl's voice on the phone that sounded just devilish, and the music that appeared reminded me of something like Darth Vader would have from Star Wars. It's like a dun 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 dun. It wasn't like that as such, but it just kind of reminded me of that sort of type of tune. I thought that was a great introduction to his character. It gives him a lot of mystery. It gives him a bit more of a ooh type of vibe. And it intrigues me, and I want to see where this character goes. I'm hoping it's not just a, Yuga, I want to buy out Rush Dueling. Accept my offer now, kid. And then Yuga's just like, nope, don't want to. Not for sale. And then Mr. Gohop's just like, fine, feel the wrath of the Gohop Corporation. I don't want that to happen, but I think that might be a route they might take. But you're going to have to let me know your thoughts on that. Anyway, I thought this was another fun, exciting episode with a bit of room for some good talking points and some great character building as well in this episode. And I want to know what your thoughts are on everything that I've said in this video and the episode itself down in the comment section below. So, hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, consider hitting that like button. Subscribe if you're new so you never miss a video from me. And to stay up to date on all my thoughts for Yugioh 7's related topics. Other than that, I hope you have an amazing day. I'll catch you next time. Arigato, matane, goodbye.